Shabbat Shalom. It is always such a delight to pray with you in this beautiful CJL setting. Tonight, the Shabbat before Pesach, Passover, is called Shabbat HaGadol, the great or the grand Shabbat. And it is called thus because the rabbi would stand up on the bima on Shabbat HaGadol and give a 35 to 45-minute Devar Torah on how important it is to kasher your home. Luckily for you, I've decided to switch it up this year. But I do want to talk to you about Pesach. Pesach is my favorite holiday for so many reasons. The incredible brisket and kugels that my mom makes every year, the way that dozens of people flood into our family's home, filling it with warmth, the familiarity of the music, and the grounding of the Seder, the order itself. But Pesach is also my favorite holiday because it serves as the antidote to apathy and indifference, breaking us out of our molds and reacquainting ourselves with what it means to be a Jew and a human being. And ultimately, Pesach helps us to practice what it truly means to be free. Tonight, I want to highlight 3 ways in which Pesach does just this. The first is that the story of Pesach invites us to engage with a level of often childlike creativity and play. When I learned with the 8th, 9th, 11th, and 12th graders this past Wednesday evening, I asked them about their favorite parts of the Seder. One 12th grader replied that in her home, when they get to the 10 plagues, they all put on masks and act as if they are blood or darkness or hail. I shared that in my house, when we talk about hail, we throw kosher for Passover marshmallows across the room. I will say that if you're planning to incorporate this into your own Seder, make sure that the cups of wine are not yet filled. And if they are filled, make sure it's with white wine, not red. But this playfulness is baked into even our most central commentators' insights on the Exodus story, usually providing us with the pshat, the simplest meaning of the text. Rashi, our go-to French medieval commentator, notices that when the second plague, the plague of frogs, is discussed in the Torah, the word used for frogs is not sfardeim, the plural of the word, but sfardea, a singular frog. Thus, Rashi writes that we should not be picturing frogs jumping on Pharaoh's bed and on his nose and on his toes. Rather, that it was one giant, enormous frog terrorizing the Egyptians. When I teach this piece of Torah to children, they often yell out, "Like Frogzilla!" Now, I cannot say for certain, and I know that Rashi certainly predated Godzilla by quite a bit. I do think that this excitement, this exuberance, this silliness even, was exactly what Rashi was trying to elicit with his comment. The drama of the Exodus story, as my teacher, Rabbi Dr. Wendy Zeeler writes, is to engage, amuse, drill, and thrill the children of Israel in matters of peoplehood and its religious and moral mission. The narrative of our powerful God, the villainous Pharaoh, and the courageous Moses, Miriam, and midwives pleads with us to shake off what it means to be proper and professional and to indulge in creativity, imagination, and play. What it means to be free is to be unafraid of being your true self, your silly self, in the company of others. The second understanding of what it means to be free comes from a central line of the Haggadah. Ha-lachma anya di achalu avhatana ve'ara di Mitzrayim. This is the bread of our affliction, which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Kol dichfin yete ve'yechol. All who are hungry, come and eat. It's very familiar. In his book, If This Is a Man, Primo Levi, a Holocaust survivor of Auschwitz, recalls a time in which the Nazis took all of the still seemingly able-bodied prisoners on a death march, but left those who were ill and dying at the camp with only scraps of food and a little fuel for 10 days. Being left at the camp, he and a few others resolved that they would fix the window in the bunker and light a fire so that even the smallest bit of warmth might fill the space. In a place in which the rule of survival was bribery, hoarding your bread, and stealing from those around you, after the ill prisoners began to feel that warmth, to feel more comfortable, one of them proposed the unthinkable, that each of them offer a slice of their bread to those who had been working. Levi writes, "It was the first human gesture that occurred among us." In his Haggadah, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks notes that sharing food is the first act of those which slaves become free human beings. One who fears tomorrow, he writes, does not offer his bread to others. What transforms the bread of affliction into the bread of freedom is the willingness to share it with others. Through these couple of lines of Halach Ma'anya, we are summoned back to our own humanity and shown that what it means to be free is to give freely. The final way in which Pesach teaches us the meaning of freedom is through the preparation for the holiday itself. I guess I am planning to speak about koshering one's home for Pesach. Koshering one's home for Pesach is an intensive experience. Getting out all the separate dishes, dunking things in boiling water, deep cleaning the fridge. That one's my job. We cannot leave one stone unturned, one corner unvacuumed. If in our preparation of our homes for Passover, we cannot be indifferent to even one cookie crumb or Cheerio, then in our lives, when something looks out of place or something seems morally bankrupt, we can't look away. In many ways, cleaning our whole homes for Pesach is an exercise in learning to look with fresh and clear eyes and notice not only the sandwich that your child had abandoned behind their bed, but the injustices just outside our front doors that we open for Eliyahu that have suddenly, seemingly, fallen into the background. The koshering process also teaches us that transformation is not possible without a little bit of elbow grease. Moving through the physical experience of cleaning is not only meditative or sometimes cathartic even. It also reminds us that growth and change and freedom do not happen without effort, without intention, without the willingness to disrupt what is comfortable in order to make space for something new. Just as we scrub, scour, and search for chametz in our home, so too we are called to do the harder inner work of examining ourselves, to ask where we have grown complacent, where we have allowed habits or assumptions to take root, and where we might begin again, where we might walk through that sea of reeds. Because freedom is not passive. It is practiced, shaped, and earned through what we are willing to confront and what we are willing to change. And that is the thread that actually binds us all together. To be free is to be willing to step beyond the narrowness of who we have been to embrace the playfulness and imagination that allows us to show up as our fullest selves, to cultivate the generosity that turns the bread of affliction into the bread of shared humanity, and to commit to the difficult, deliberate work of transforming our own lives. Pesach does not simply ask us to remember the story. It asks us to live differently because of it. So as we enter this Shabbat HaGadol and we prepare for our Seders, may we do so with intention, ready not only to tell the story, but to inhabit it, to loosen our grip on what confines us, to open our hands to those around us, and to do the sacred work of continuously becoming. And in that work, may we move step by step closer to a freedom that is not only remembered, but realized. Shabbat Shalom.